With us today, we have Matt Maxey, the fisheries manager at the Leavenworth Fish Hatchery in Leavenworth. So did I get that right?
Good enough. Yeah. That's
Okay.
perfect. Yeah.
All right. So today we're going to talk about salmon a little bit, and I'll ask Matt some questions, and we will learn all about the fish. So what is your role at the hatchery, Matt?
So I'm the hatchery manager here at the Leavenworth Hatchery, and my official title is supervisory fish biologist. So my degree and my background is in fisheries and natural resources. So, and as the hatchery manager, I get to do a little bit of everything here at the hatchery. So I'm not just focused on fish. I get to do with facilities management as well as operational management of the property. So anyone who's been out here to Leavenworth Fish Hatchery knows that we have trails and sleigh rides and partnerships with all these other organizations that occur out here. So I get to help with the management of that as well.
Very cool. Yeah, I've been at the fish hatchery doing snowshoe stuff with kids and snow science before. So we've got to use those trails and over by the pollinator garden. I mean, of course, it was covered with snow when we were there, and I've also been there for Salmon Fest. So it's a very cool place. So if you have not visited the Leavenworth Fish Hatchery, you should take a trip out there when we go back to normal. So right now, I was wondering what species of salmon are you currently raising at the hatchery? And then if you could give us kind of that whole cycle, so how they got there, when they leave, and everything in between.
Yeah, great. I'll try to be as concise and short as I can with such a large question for the hatchery. But we only raise one species here. We raise spring Chinook, and we've been doing that primarily as our species of concern for at least 30 years now. In the past, this hatchery has been in operation since 1939, and we've done sockeye, we have done trout, rainbow trout, and steelhead. And currently we have a agreement and a partnership with the Yakima Nation, and they raise coho here. But for spring Chinook, that's what the federal hatchery is concerned with. And those fish, we are actually getting ready to release our juvenile fish here in next week. So those will go directly into Icicle Creek and all the way down the Columbia and out to the Pacific Ocean. And in about 2 years or so, those fish will start to come back to the hatchery. And those fish, you can actually look at the dam counts at your personal computer. Go to Fish Passage Center. It's fpc.org. And you can watch the daily dam counts of fish going by. And spring Chinook have started to return already, and we're looking at maybe about a month out before we start seeing them back here at the hatchery. So as soon as our fish go out, we start getting ready for the next, those adults to come back and getting ready for the next brood year.
Very cool. So what kind of work goes into raising that many salmon, and how many do you have in the hatchery at one time?
Yeah, great. So we have 1.2 million spring Chinook that we raise here annually. And right now, because we're getting ready to release, we actually have 2 age classes on station, so 2.4 million fish on station. And for that to occur, I think this is one of your next questions, so I don't really want to get too far ahead. But for that to happen, we need about 800 or 850 adults to return to make that many juvenile fish. And there's a lot of effort that goes into that to make sure that the fish are healthy, that we are able to maintain those levels of production without going below. We're mandated by some litigation that happened between the states and the tribes to ensure that we have catchable fish for the treaty tribes as well as for the general public. So it's very important to us to make sure that we meet these obligations.
So the general public, I'm kind of skipping ahead of my questions here and probably adding some, but so the general public can catch any kind of salmon, or can they only catch certain species of salmon?
It depends on the section of the river, and the state regulates what is catchable and what is not, and depending on the river and the area. So again, depending on where you are, sometimes you can keep wild fish and sometimes you can't. And again, we'll hit some of your questions here, but that's very important. And what we do here is marking the fish. So a very easy way for us to mark the fish so that the general public is able to identify them is by removing the adipose fin. So when they're juvenile fish, we go in, we have automated trailers that actually do the process, the majority of the process for us. The juvenile fish go in the trailers, they get sized out, and then there's a little system that that holds the fish, and actually has a pair of knives or scissors that cuts the adipose fin. And those of you that don't know what the adipose fin is, it's a little fatty, fleshy fin that's between the tail and the dorsal fin. So if you salmon have it, some species of minnows have it, and catfish have all different species have adipose fins, but salmon's one of them that has it, and it's very easy for us to remove. And then when you catch a fish, you can easily identify that it does or does not have this fin. So that's one of the methods that we use for macking.
I didn't know that it was a machine basically that did this, but I guess thinking of that, it would be really hard for a couple individuals to clip off.
Yeah, 1.2. Exactly. Wow. It used to be done as a percentage, and then people did do it by hand. But yeah, to do the mass marking and clip, over 1 million fish, and they've gone to automated trailers. There's still a proportion that does get manually clipped, but it's a very small number now compared to the automated trailers.
And so are people allowed, this might be dependent on where at in the river you are, but are you allowed to keep wild and hatchery fish?
Yeah, it depends on the stretch of the river or the river system that you're in. Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that was it. We definitely hit some of my questions. I'm trying to think if I had any more. So you had said 800 salmon, that you need 800 salmon to make it back. Mm-hmm. How do you usually get around 800, or do you get more or less?
Our hope is to get more, yeah, because if we get more than that, the fishery, and at least on Icicle Creek where we release these fish, that's when the fishery is open. The state, we meet with the tribes, we meet with the state and the federal government. We all meet together before these fish return and talk about what the projected return is, and then determine whether or not the fishery will be open or how it's going to be impacted by the return. So really, we hope for more than that, because then people are able to come on Icicle Creek and go fishing, and that includes the local anglers and the tribes. So yeah, we always hope for more than 800 if we can, and usually I think the average return here is about 3,000 to 5,000 adults returning, which would be an open fishery for Icicle Creek. This year, like I said, we get together, we talk about ocean conditions, we talk about return numbers, and right now we're looking at a lower than average return possibly. We haven't done our annual meeting yet to talk about whether the fishery is going to be open or not. So don't know how that's going to look, but we do know that we're looking at a lower than typical projected return. So we're looking forward to having those conversations.
Okay. And so the process so when all the fish return, they swim into that little area right at the hatchery, and then people are actually in the water and picking up the fish and doing something with them, aren't they?
Yeah, so when fish return, we have a fish ladder that comes directly into the hatchery, and as salmon, they come back to their natal waters where they were raised. And so it's really not a lot of work on our part. We just drop the ladder, open up the gate, and they swim back up. So we, being a spring Chinook, they actually hold up in the river system for a very long time. So like I said, we'll be expecting them to come back at the end of May, and then they won't be ready to spawn until August. So there's a couple months that we have to keep them on station, and we just maintain cool temperatures, try to maintain healthy fish throughout that time, and then end of August, as they get ready to spawn, we'll do checks on the females. Those are the ones that are most critical to the spawning operation. So we really do a good job of keeping our eye on them. But it's really kind of fun event. But really, the females, their bellies will be super firm when they're not ready. And we call it green. So the females will be green at that time. And then as they get closer to being ready to spawn, they ripen up, we'll say, and their bellies start to feel like a water balloon. So that's when we know they're ready to go. And we schedule our spawning days, and we typically have about 2 or 3 spawning events that we get all 1.2. But we actually collect about 1.5 to 1.7 million eggs, and then to get us to that 1.2 for release.
Wow, that's a lot. So I think I'm probably ready to wrap it up pretty soon here, but I had just a couple more questions. And the first one is if anybody wants to get involved with salmon conservation or any kind of fish conservation, where would they start if it's people from the general public?
Yeah, so there's a lot of great avenues and ways you can participate with salmon conservation. I always encourage people to find outside organizations that they can use as avenues to partner with the Fish and Wildlife Service. So we have Friends of Northwest Hatcheries that is a good partner with us, that they deal primarily with education, but they help with us. They're the ones that actually put on Salmon Fest. So that's a one way. We also have a partnership with Trout Unlimited, and they've done fishing improvement projects here at the hatchery. We have a myriad of other partners. It's amazing the number of partners that we have that do improvements for the hatchery. But you can always come down if you're really interested and volunteer with the Fish and Wildlife Service as well. So lots of opportunities. Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, I mean, they've all done projects here at the hatchery at various times. So lots of organizations that we're happy to and willing to work with.
Okay, cool. Very good information. And I just wanted to jump back. I had one more question that I just remembered that I didn't ask. What is the biggest threat to salmon, wild salmon or hatchery salmon? Is it dams? Is it pollution? I was just kind of curious what exactly it was.
Yeah, and it's really death by a thousand cuts. And there's just a lot going on. The Columbia River is severely impacted and altered ecosystem. It's really, with the dams, it's a series of lakes going all the way up here. And every dam is a little bit of a struggle for a fish to get through. You got pinnipeds and orcas and everything else in the ocean that try to eat them. So coming in, you have commercial fisheries, you have all the other personal fishermen and anglers coming up, bears, otters, just everything coming up is really a struggle. Then you throw ocean conditions in there in the mix, and climate change and all these things that are impacting the stream temperatures. And salmon are a cold water species, or what we call a cold water species. So river temperatures really make a huge difference. If you kind of think back to, I think, 2015, really warm conditions in the Columbia, it really impacted returns, and a lot of sockeye actually perished because of high temperatures in the Columbia River. So they weren't able to spawn because of that. So little things, it's not just necessarily one thing that's contributing to the threats in the salmon. It's many, many things, and it's amazing how many fish still make it all the way back up here. So it's really a miracle.
They have to be strong. They have a lot to deal with.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, well, was there anything else that you want us to know about salmon or about the fish hatchery before we go?
No, I appreciate you encouraging everyone to come down here. I would do the same. It's a fantastic place. We have a lot of other opportunities besides fish, but as they come down, feel free to stop the staff and talk to us, and we're always happy to answer your questions. So I know this was a quick little interview with very specific questions, but I mean, there's hundreds more you can ask about fish, and all the people here, all the staff here are really passionate about what we do. So we'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, that is true. I've been to the fish hatchery, and the staff is great. I actually have some friends that work at the Leavenworth Fish Hatchery, and they are thrilled to answer questions. So if you want to learn more about fish or the hatchery or anything wildlife related, even, somebody there will probably be able to answer it for you. So I encourage everybody to go take a tour of the hatchery once it's over, and check out the Salmon Fest website and come on the family day too, because that's a really fun event.